Welcome, everybody, to the brand new Vortex Nation podcast Fall Hunt Recap Series. I tell you what, fall is in the air, and 1/3 the fun of any hunt is telling the story afterwards. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to tell the stories of folks here internally at Vortex, folks externally as well. We're going to do them as real time as possible, as close to the close of these hunts as we can to capture the essence of the hunt, the energy of the hunt, and hopefully give you some information you can take to the field. Tune in, listen up. Let's start the show. What is up, everybody? Mark on the mic, and welcome to the Vortex Nation podcast Fall Hunt Recap featuring Mr. Kelly Birchmier from the great state of Utah. Guys, we've got a good one for you here today. Kelly, welcome to the podcast. This is your first time. In fact, we've never met before. We've never talked before. Josh here at work, he's buddies with you, and he popped upstairs the other day, and he's like, hey, Mark, he's like, my buddy Kelly killed this giant velvet bull. This thing is legit huge. He showed it to me. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's insane. He's like, I think it'd be a great story to cover on the podcast. And I was like, well, I'm glad you mentioned this because it is a great story. And we just launched this new series, so it works out perfect. The timing worked out perfect. So Kelly, thank you to you for, going out and killing this giant bull because it worked out super convenient for us on our end.
That's why I did it. Yeah. No, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Giving me the opportunity to at least tell my story a little bit.
Yeah.
And get it out there. So thanks.
So welcome. So yeah, before we get too deep, I mean, maybe, tell us a little bit about, who you are, what you're up to, your background, where you're from, all those things, and how you even ended up with the opportunity to pursue a bull like this.
Yeah. So I grew up in Southeast Iowa. It's a land of the giant whitetails, and started hunting back there, and actually hunted right around the albia buck, hunted that same deer, saw him when I was 17.
No
Never
kidding.
got him killed, of course. You would have probably seen my name before if I could have pulled that off, but still killed some giants back there, luckily, and was blessed enough to live a childhood there of hunting whitetails and turkeys. But I joined the Air Force straight out of high school, got stationed in New Mexico, and then stationed up here in Utah, and a career of active duty military. And I've been in Utah since 2008. Left a little bit to go back to Offutt Air Force Base in Nebraska, but came back here right when I separated. And I've been putting in for the same unit, and I had 12 points, so it's been 13 years to draw this, which isn't bad. Archery takes a little less to draw, but it's much less success rates that are 20, 30%, even on the limited entry units. So we've hunted that unit 6 years now in a row. Different guys have different tags, and have had some pretty decent success. And it kind of just grew from there, going down, watching different bulls and finding what we can, and struggled through a lot of it, though.
When you drew this tag, did you feel that the points that you had in the bank were pretty on par? Did you feel like you had a good shot, or did you get a little bit lucky at the same time?
Yeah. So I was high points draw on this one. So the way Utah breaks it up is they give about half of them to the high points guys, and then the other half just go to the lottery. So I ran into guys on that mountain that drew 0 points. So if anybody is thinking that it's impossible, it's for sure not. You can pull it off with, 0 points all the way up to high points and hope for the best.
Gotcha. And then from a strategy standpoint, were you and the guys that you've hunted with, have you been staggering that out a little bit? Like, hey, I'm going to try and draw this year, so don't put in, or is everybody just like trying to put in every year?
Yeah, it's been a free for all, just whoever can pull it off. The point creep has been pretty bad down there in southern Utah for quite some time. Just anything. It's the world we live in, right? It's getting harder and harder to hunt, and more people are doing it. But luckily, the way it's kind of laid out is somebody's drew it year after year, whether it's, a buddy, a different buddy, or their family has drawn it, and it's a rare enough event that everybody kind of gathers together and goes down and makes it a whole event. to support whoever they can. And, time off of work is always a big factor, and family and everything else. But, I've made a priority to go down there just because I knew at some point I was going to draw the tag. So familiarization with that, any mountain, is a huge thing.
Oh man, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, boots on the ground and spending time in a unit hunting, whether it's your tag or not. I mean, the amount of knowledge and intel that you've gained over time, whether it's just, the behavior of the animals, hunter pressure, access points, hidden springs, whatever. I'm making this up as I go along, but I mean, yeah,
No, spot on.
your knowledge of the unit had to be pretty solid going into this thing. You had to be, honestly, like, I'd have probably felt better in your shoes than, the guy that in your group that drew it the first time, right?
Yeah, it was a different unit back then too, and we had a lot of learning to do when he got down there. But we saw a ton of bulls, and he ended up going home empty-handed. But it was just an unfortunate chain of events. So nothing's guaranteed on those public land, limited entry even units. So I think average success rate for archery overall in Utah is right around 20%. So if you're 20 tags on a unit, there's 4 bulls coming off the unit during archery season.
Yeah,
wow. Like, putting that into perspective is like a wow moment for most people, because it's not easy for anybody, and the outfitters, they do a good job, and it's just, that's not for me at all. I used to guide a little bit when I was first got out of the military, and I just learned real quick that I enjoy hunting for the joy of it, not for the work of it.
Yeah, man, I get that. Do you think that trophy quality has improved or declined over time?
I think it's done a lot better. We're seeing there's always going to be trophies wherever you go, but in some of these units, it's almost like a bullwhip effect. You see it go up and down. They'll take a ton of cows off a unit with late season hunts and just demolish the herd, and then it's poor for quite a few years. But next thing you know, it rebounds with a good wet year. And this year's been a little bit odd for that, actually. So, I mean, we had a very wet spring down there, and you almost see it in the horn growth. I don't know if Josh sent you all the pictures of my bull or not, but he's got, 29-inch thirds and 26-inch fronts. So he's just massive up front. He's 17, 18 inches around at the base. That's unheard of. But then when he gets to his back end, it's like a back end from a 340 bull, because we got super dry throughout the summer and fires happened everywhere down there. That had a big effect on my hunts too, because I sent Josh some pictures of that, and your visibility down there all day was like a quarter mile. And it's in some country that, you have to be able to glass extremely far. And I run the UHD 18s, and those are, I can't express enough of how amazing those are, like, compared to everything else that we have that we've ran down there. Even spotting scopes, I would go to my 18 UHD razors all day over everything else.
If you made me pick for a hunt like that, I'd probably go with the 18 binos as well. I mean, when they're the right tool for the job, they are the right tool for the job. And I mean, this really goes anytime. But man, if you told me I can spend my day looking through a spotting scope or a set of binos on a tripod, I'm going to go with the binos on the tripod. Well, let me. I want to back up just one sec. I want to go back into the dang antlers on that thing too. But you draw the tag, like what? I guess after your heart rate, well, maybe your heart rate never came back down, but what did your preseason scouting look like from there on out then?
Yeah, so I started going down in June, drop cameras as usual. One element to that was that I didn't think through, that I kind of get a laugh from, that, maybe sharing it, even being successful consistently, like, you still make stupid mistakes. But that unit does not have very many roads. And so everywhere you're going is either very far up or very far down. And when you drop cameras into some of these drainages, you'll do them on different days over a few day trips. And next thing you know, you have half a dozen cameras out, and each one of them took you a day trip to get down there and back. So you Utah just implemented a new law this year with it that you have to have your cameras pulled by July 31st. So when you go down there trying to save time off of work, I didn't really think through the fact that I was going to be going into multiple drainages that were full day hikes and have to have them out in 2 days. So it was an excruciating couple days to get those out in time.
That's that's definitely some solid pre-hunt conditioning.
Yeah, it was. And your lungs get filled up pretty quick and get conditioned pretty quick, luckily. So, but yeah, so I probably went down 8 times throughout the summer, just glassing different drainages, trying to take inventory of whatever bulls I could find. And early on, like I said, with the rains, the bulls weren't in their spots that we'd really found them in years past. I mean, it was tough, and tough enough that I was considering, with the smoke from all the fires and the fact that I wasn't finding bulls like usual, that I'm like, man, I need to start considering turning this tag in, everything going on at home and going on at work. So, I mean, that actually crossed my mind. And I think that's actually a pretty important element, to it, that I was doubting myself so much that I was debating on turning the tag in. But at that point, they only give you 30 days to do that, or you eat the tag before the hunt starts. So, it was mid-July and I was struggling. And then when I talked to the Fish and Game about it, they're like, 30 days, man, you're past it. So you're going or you're not, So, that changed my mind pretty quick, that I still had to give it all, because I'm 40 now, and it took me 13 years, 12 points to draw this. And you have a 5-year waiting period afterwards here in Utah. So by the time point creep catches up and everything else, I'm 20 years out to draw it again. And I don't know that you can do that mountain in your 60s. Some people can. I don't know that I'll be capable at that age or not, but I'll probably be bedridden, by the time that comes around. Long career of working on airplanes takes its toll on you. But yeah, so this is essentially not just short of a once in a lifetime for me. So really had to give it all. And I stuck with it. And shortly after that, we'll call it a weak moment that I was calling the Fish and Game about turning the tag in, I found this bull with my family too. So my wife wanted to make sure I gave her a shout out for supporting me through all this. And she did, to give her credit. But
that's awesome.
She actually glassed this bull up originally. So she found it.
No way.
Right. Yeah. And my son was there. He's 10. So he saw him the first time we saw him. Probably have a couple hours of footage of him from different weekends leading up to the hunt. And we obviously didn't think he was this big. We knew he was big and he was a shooter, but when they get to that 380 plus point, it's not even a question. You're like, oh yeah, shooter.
Oh, 100%.
Ready to go. But yeah, watched him for a few different weekends and tried to kind of stay out of that particular drainage. And what's kind of crazy about it all is every drainage that I was hunting that I was looking in all the way up to there was within half a mile of that one. Like you could see it from half of my glassing points, but you couldn't see where he was at. And first time we glassed him, he was 600 yards from the main road.
You're kidding me.
Everybody, no, it's unbelievable, to a point that, I had to do a triple take. I was like, I can't believe he's right here. He's the closest bull to the road I think I've even seen down there. So numerous people stopped in that same spot and glassed for, 5-10 minutes and then would drive off. So the whole thing is you couldn't see him unless you just dropped to a different angle and looked straight down. He was right down in the bottom of this drainage and you couldn't see it. And I think everybody just looks over him.
Just right over the top. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And I didn't want, I was kind of worried about people, you'll see guys that I don't know if they're doing it intentionally, but they'll almost bird dog you. So, if they see you going to the same spot, glassing and all this, because they have every right to go there as much as you do. It's public. And they'll follow you, or, they'll glass you. And you'll see almost in movies where you're tracking across with your spotter and then you guys meet face to face and they're looking right at you and you're looking at them from a mile away. Like, what's he looking at? You're like, he's looking at us, looking at elk. So I tried to avoid that, stay out of there, and right up until before the hunt. So, to back up a little bit just before I get into the hunt side of it, I had the worst possible luck this year, and maybe I was given a pass for all that bad luck and got this good luck. But every vehicle I owned broke down, and not like light breaks either, like engine work I had to do on my wife's truck. My truck was overheating the whole way down there. It took me 9-10 hours for a 5-hour trip, and it was just one thing after another. Couldn't pull a trailer with it. Then my buddy that was with me, Jaden from Cedar City, he lives in southern Utah. He had helped me a couple times throughout the summer looking for bulls, setting cameras. And he takes his dog with him everywhere. And his dog fell out of his machine and broke its ankle, ripped out its dew claw, $6,000-7,000 break on that mountain.
Oh my gosh.
4 weeks prior to the hunt. My truck broke every shock on it because of how rough it is down there. It was just a lot of things going wrong at once. A lot going on at work with traveling some different things and the posture of how the F-22 is right now, because that's what I do now is I work for the Air Force, the F-22 program. But,
oh, wow.
So just a lot going on.
Well, and that is a lot, obviously everything worked out as good as it could, but you got that. I mean, that takes a mental toll, it's just like kind of setback. You've got this tag, which in some ways, tag like this, it comes with, like you said, it's a once in a lifetime tag, a lot of pressure there. And you're having, these different vehicle hiccups and things like that. You're down there, you know what you want to do, but in the back of your head is like, is my truck going to break down while we're out here? Are we going to be dealing with that instead of hunting? I mean, that'll weigh on you.
Yeah. And, to top it all off, and then I'll stop talking about all the bad. My mother, she's getting elderly and still lives in Southeast Iowa, but she actually called me Thursday before the hunt, which was my birthday, and she's told me that she thinks me and my brother should come home to see her because she wasn't sure if she's going to make it through the latest round of pneumonia. So, I was like, well, my mom may be dying, all this other stuff going on. And it really was to a point that I was almost at a breaking point, and I think it's important just to say all that stuff that, if everybody thinks they're like everything's going wrong and, you're not going to make it through the hunt or you're not going to be able to go. And sometimes you can power through. It's worth getting through it and being successful on the other end of it. So you just got to keep your head up and keep going and stick with it.
For sure, man. Well, I'm glad you did.
Yeah, me too, to say the least. As a bull of 5-6 lifetimes, probably.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. More than 100%. Right. You did mention, those cameras that you had out when you finally pulled them. Did you have any pictures of that bull on your camera or any other bulls that you were really interested in?
I did not. So there was 370, 380 bulls on there. And to be honest, I wouldn't have passed a 370 bull on that unit.
No way.
Any day. You'd be crazy too. Anybody would. Even the guys that you see these videos of them holding out for these giants that they see, like that's risky. Sometimes it works out, but I wasn't going into it with that mentality. I was going after the first 370 plus bull that we glassed up that was in a killable position. Just so happened to be this bull. So, but yeah, to the cameras, we had numerous bulls on there. None of them were anything that were wow factor. They were just what I would say is a trophy bull for that unit. That's more of a run of the mill. What you see guys pulling out of there here and there on the rifle hunt, that kind of bull.
Gotcha. Well, I can tell you this: I don't run in a circle where a 370 bull doesn't have a lot of wow factor. I can tell you that.
Yeah, that's a fair statement. That's fair.
So you did some scouting. You had your cameras. You pulled your cameras, and obviously you run into a few things getting down there. So what's it look like when you guys finally get down there then?
Yeah, so I went down on the Thursday prior to the hunt solo, got camp set up and got up to the top of the mountain to see if I could find this bull. My truck overheated going up the mountain, enough it boiled, so I had to wait that out. So I was really running late, and it took me over 9 hours to get down there. So I was way behind. I should have had more than enough time to scout that evening altogether, but made it down there late. I think I was maybe 30 minutes before dark and running down a ridge in my shorts and a t-shirt, freezing because it's August 16th, but at 10,000 feet, it's a little bit chilly. So I glassed that night and didn't see an elk until I was walking back out, and I got a slightly different angle, and this bull I killed was maybe 500 from the road, bedded in a wide open meadow. He was just right there.
You're kidding me.
Oh, no, I can't make it up. Honestly, like you expect, like we've done some pack outs on that mountain that are, 2.5 miles, absolutely brutal, 1,500 feet of elevation gain over 1.5 miles. That's, cliff country and like some stuff you're holding on with all fours to go up some cliffs and whatnot with a load on. So my expectation was that I was going to be dropping in pretty deep as usual. And it just never happens the way it did. Like everything lined up perfectly. But I went back to camp. The other guys, some of the guys showed up that night, and others showed up on Friday after work, but didn't see him Friday morning, found him Friday evening, put him to bed. And then Saturday morning, we saw him early, but he went around the corner to where we couldn't see him bed down. And so I wasn't willing to make a stalk in there without knowing exactly where he was and risk bumping him out. But, it's the way we have to hunt them in a lot of this open country down there. Like every unit's a little bit different. You'll have some that are socked in so tight with lodgepole pine, your visibility is less than 100 yards. So, you see guys like Eric Chesser killing the fire bull. That bull was in a socked in unit where you pretty much sit and you got a scout up front and you sit and you wait for him to come out, which I don't know about you. It's hard for me to sit around in a tree stand anymore after hunting in the West. So that kind of hunting is difficult for me. I'd much rather be on the go all the time and at least be mobile and find the elk. But we pretty much have to do spot and stalk in these early seasons. Utah does the early hunt. It's so early, it's when I left my house, it's 100 degrees and we're going up chasing these full velvet bulls in their summer habits. They're bachelored up and it's big country. You got to be able to see really far. And, I keep seeing guys, and I don't know if they don't know or if they know something I don't know, but I keep seeing them drop into these big drainages blindly and going in there. It's right where, there's elk in there, but they're kind of right in the middle of them. And summer habit bulls seem, they're just as easy to bump any other time, probably easier, with any kind of scent or you just being in there. So, but I have yet to see those guys come out with elk where we're doing it, glassing long distances, putting them to bed, wait for the thermals to be right, and then come in from above them when the thermals are in your face. And you can shoot them in their bed if you want to, but that's, from my perspective and my view, that's the only way to consistently kill these big bulls in units that you can see like that. So a lot of guys do it. You see it on some of the YouTube videos here and there, but I think a lot of people have the wrong approach to hunting summer bulls early like that.
Yeah, I mean, what you're saying, I mean, it makes a lot of sense to me, particularly, like you said, it's open, so it's going to lend itself to using your optics. And then, man, you're just making so much, the decisions you're making are so much more informed. I mean, you just have
tactical,
very tactical, very, your precision, like you are going in with a game plan. You're not trying to bumble into something. And that early of an opener, I mean, my goodness, calling, I would think is going to be less effective. I mean, I'm not going to say it couldn't work somehow, but
Right. And I mean, you never know what's going to work for a bull, but 9 times out of 10, the bull's going to go the other direction if you call at them that early. And we heard guys call in, and usually when you do that, you're wondering, like, what are they thinking? Like, put that away, leave that in the truck, especially bugles. You shouldn't be carrying a bugle till maybe September 1st, and that's getting a little sporty in itself. And again, that's just my perception and how I view going after him here.
For sure. So you spotted him, and then, or wait, I'm backing up there. So you spotted him the first night of scouting, not the second, and then you refound him, but then you didn't like where he went. So what happened after that?
Yeah. So it rained a lot that day, actually, and we had went back to camp. So we got out that evening and had glassed up another bull, and this bull was, he was in the 400 range too, no question. And he's very notable. He had some devil tines, and you couldn't mistake him, but he's a stud bull too. I think sheds, I ran it, the same guy that found the sheds off of my bull found the sheds off of this bull. And I think those devil tine sheds were 407 last year. So this spring. So he was a tank too, no question. And so I was going in after him. He was a little bit further in the drainage. And, there's the other element of spot and stalk that's noteworthy is, like, we almost have to use radios out here. And, Pope and Young frowns upon radio use for fair chase, and which, everybody's entitled to their opinion. But when it takes you a lifetime to draw a tag like this, I'm going to do everything legally possible that I can per the proclamation of the state that allows me to do it. So we typically use radios for spot and stalk. So I was headed in after this devil tine bull and got to a point where I could stage and kind of wait for the guys to tell me where I needed to go, because every other bull on that unit that we saw that weekend was hard horns. And my bull I killed was like still in velvet, completely still in velvet, which reminded me later to come back to that velvet topic, because some things have unfolded since then that are pretty interesting that make this bull unique. So as I was going in after that hard horn bull, devil tine bull, he was in some quakes that we call them baby quakes. They'll be about 2-inch trunks, 20 foot tall, 15 foot tall, old burn that's grown for 15, 20 years, it seems like. And that stuff is just awful to get through. It's thick. The elk can't hardly get through it, and you can't hardly get through it. There's deadfall everywhere, trunks, old burns, trunks that have fallen down. So it's just, everything is crisscrossed, just miserable.
Nasty.
And that bull was right in the middle of it. And it's just a swath of baby quakes. So, when you look at him from one drainage, looking to the other side, you're like, oh yeah, I can get to right where he's at. Then you get over there, takes you, an hour to get over to the other side, and you're like, I have no idea where I'm even at. Am I in the right drainage? And the guys are like, yeah, man. Yeah, just go one finger over. You're fine. But as I was waiting for those guys to call out where I needed to go, I was kind of in an open burn where I could see straight across the drainage from me. And there was like no vegetation, just old burn and, a little sagebrush, some grass. But I saw movement straight across from me, and it was my bull stood up. So I saw him stand up out of his bed right on the other ridge, and him being in velvet, he never went into those baby quakes. Like, that's why I kept seeing him out in the open, is he was so big, and in velvet, they're sensitive and it hurts them, so he wouldn't go into them. And I'm positive that's the only reason I would see him on a regular basis out in the open, is because once you have the correct angle on that view, you'll find him. You just had to spend the time. But that drainage was one of those drainages that over the years I've hunted, I've never seen elk in there ever. And he had to have been in there. I just didn't see him. But it's a drainage where 90% of the time you won't see an elk, or you'll see him. Those are your options. It's either nothing or you're finding him. And it just so happened that other bull, I think, got bumped into there, that other devil tine bull. And the only reason I knew about him was I got a picture from a guy I made friends with that guides down there that he was running bears, so he wasn't guiding anybody that year. And he showed me those pictures of it. And I mean, he was a stud too, giant bull. But when I saw him stand up, I radioed my buddies that were on the other ridge and was like, guys, he's straight north of me. He's on a finger to the north, 270 yards from me. I'm going back. So I had to go all the way back out to the road, go down to the next finger, came back down on top of him. And I was running out of daylight. Like the guys had to convince me to even go in because I was so worried about bumping him out of there that there was a level of risk that I was willing to take and a level of risk I wasn't. And this was right on the line where I would have been getting to him right at dark and close enough that I was like, I don't think I'm going to make it, guys. We're running out of daylight. And they're like, quit being an idiot, just go. And like, okay, I'm going. So
I mean, I get that though. I mean, you're making this huge move. I mean, you're going in. I mean, you're in kill mode. You're going to get into his kitchen with a limited amount of time. You know, you think about how you might put on a stalk and have to, you know, sit on something to stand up or move to get in the right position because you can't, you can't take another step or make an adjustment without, blowing the whole situation up. Yeah, I mean, you've got a very small window of time to have everything work out perfectly.
And if you rush it, it's game over. And, I found out later, after I had him on the ground and Facebook blew up, and that blew up before we even got off the mountain. You couldn't hide him. He's in the back of the truck and everyone's like, whoa, look at that thing, taking pictures. But some guys that had seen him in the past and had hunted him in the past started reaching out and sending my buddies videos of him and the story of him. And he would summer right where I found him. And as soon as he got hard horned, he'd bail and he would go to a completely different unit 30 miles away onto a private ranch and he'd rut over there.
He would move that much.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Those elk down there, they'll go from, unit to unit, 30, 40 miles, and they can cover it pretty quick, like within a day or two, because as soon as they start bailing off and they decide they want to go, they cover some ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think that's why he survived so long is he would end up hard horned and he would go down the same drainage and make it across the flats and over to another unit completely. And nobody's seen him.
Insane. Yeah. So your buddies convince you to drop down in, and then what happens next?
Yeah. So I was going as fast as I was comfortable going on any stalk, and excuse me, faster than I was actually comfortable going. But you can get away with quite a bit with elk that you can't get away with deer and whitetail or mule deer. Mule deer are very sensitive with that stuff actually. So elk don't mind the noise. So you can be a little bit louder because they just automatically think it's another elk unless they're really pressured. But these bulls, opening day, they really hadn't been pressured all year. So, he was just in summer mode. But I went as fast as I could all the way down to within about 200 yards of him. And then I started slowing down. But, talking about things lining up just perfect, where I saw him was an old burn, and all the quakes were like 15 feet tall, those baby quakes. And there was only 3 full-grown pine trees on that finger he was on, and they're right clumped together. And they're big. They're like 60-foot, 50-foot pine trees. So there's no mistaking where he was at when I saw him from across the drainage. And as I came down the other side, I'm like, I got to those pines, and I'm like, oh, right there. I can keep the wind in my face. Kept checking wind. Came over the top, and as I came over, all I saw were thirds. 1/3 sticking up of an antler, and I hadn't seen his face or his body yet. And I've had a bunch of people ask me at work and just buddies that are like, man, I can't imagine how the adrenaline was going with that situation, knowing he was a bull like that. And, to be honest, it wasn't like that, because I had seen that bull for weeks prior, had hours of footage of him, through the phone scope, watching everything. And I never looked at him twice. As soon as I knew it was him from the other side of that drainage, I was go mode, and he was by himself. So I knew there's nothing else in there, nothing else to look at. no question, I'm shooting that bull if I can. And I didn't look at his horns again. But where I came out over the top, there was some rock and earth had just sloughed off. And so there's a really sharp edge where it went down. And I was probably shooting at a 45-degree angle down at him. But when he was going to his right, my left, I ranged a tree, and I think it was 29.7 yards is where I snuck up to, where I could, once I saw his horn and got close enough. And I could only see maybe 10 inches of his back. And I knew that at that angle, if I was shooting at the dirt, my arrow would clear. There was one little quakey in the way, and I drew back and stepped left to shoot him. And he looked up at me for a little while there, and I just sent one right there, and it went in high lung going in and came out, impacted on, didn't go all the way through. It was not pass through, but it was low lung on the other side and just pounded him. He went down in seconds, and I didn't see him go down. I just saw him blow blood out, and my buddies watching from the other side of the drainage saw him go down and roll. But I think he ran 100 yards, 120, but 30, 40 yards of that was him rolling, falling down the mountain. It's steep, and the pictures don't do it justice, because as steep as it was, we couldn't move him, getting him out of there. So our pictures are, you can't make that bull look small, but you see a lot of other guys taking these pictures of 370, 380 bulls, and they just look giant. There's no trickery with ours, because we didn't have an option. It was just that steep, and we got belly up and full velvet, but he didn't hurt his velvet. He knocked 1 point off of I think his fourth, and that was it. So the rest of the velvet was perfect.
That's the incredible feat in of itself, or just luck that he didn't tear it completely up. Like you said, it's that steep. You made a fatal shot. He's going to go down, likely pretty darn hard.
Yeah.
Like you said, you got all those, baby quakies in there, just primed to, strip it off as he goes. I have to imagine that his velvet was, about ready to go anyway, and pretty tender. But it just, in the pictures, it looks absolutely perfect. And like you said, there's not a way to make that bull look small. Any
Yeah.
angle, and I can tell, you guys were, like you said, sometimes they die where they die, but he's just an absolute giant. And you mentioned, his brows and his thirds and his fourths are just, really everything about him is truly just one of those super special bulls. But man, he is a neat one.
So he green taped out at 430 and some change. I think it was 430 3/4 green in velvet. But for a 430-inch bull as a true 6x6 typical, that's just about unheard of, honestly.
Yeah.
And his bases, I think, are between 17 and 18 inches around. Even I had a guy stop by at work today that used to work at an elk farm up the road here, and he's like, we didn't grow elk that big, bases that big. He's like, this is the most impressive bull I've ever seen, even including those high fence bulls like that. I was like, wow, that's a pretty solid, approval right there, in my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. When the game farm guy can't do it. What was your thought? Like, you shoot the bull. It sounds like you were way more cool, calm, and collected than I would have been. Like, what went through your mind when you're like, that was a good hit, that looked good?
So I couldn't see the arrow fly, because I had enough mindset to be able to think, if I aim at the dirt, I should be able to drop one in, because 10-inch view of their back, like, you're going to hit that dead zone and you're going to be in trouble. So I knew I couldn't shoot that, and he was looking right at me when I ranged him. So I put my rangefinder down, and he was locked on me. There's no question. And when I had to step over and draw back in one motion, like I said, you can get away with a little bit with elk that you wouldn't get away with deer. And so to be able to think through it, I was kind of proud of myself for that little moment of clarity where I could hold low enough know that I'm going to clear that ledge and drop in there. And I guarantee my arrow cut grass going by that ledge. It was that close. And it dropped in, you can see in some of the pictures, it hit high, but think tree stand angle at 30 yards. Like that's the angle I was shooting at. So I think some guys commented that, he's lucky to kill him. It's a high shot. And I'm like, well, what you don't see is the fact that I was on a 45-degree, angle of a mountain that's a pretty steep grade. And where it came out or where it hit the ribs on that backside, it was just above the heart. So it was money, no question. He was like, even on the video, you can hear it's within seconds that I heard him crash, just down from me.
Well, that's what I was going to say. When you were talking about that angle earlier, I was like, oh man, your tree stand roots are, they're paying off. And really that angle that you got, that high entry point, that was optimal, to be able to run it through his vitals, how you'd want to, and to be able to catch his lung on the onside and get the offside. That it doesn't get better,
Yeah, no, it really doesn't. And I was shooting beast broadheads for the first year ever. And, those, they performed great. I was kind of surprised it didn't get a pass through at, 30 yards, but must have just hit, square on ribs and just didn't go through. But he really didn't bleed very much. When you don't get that lower side pass through, there's nowhere for the blood to drain. So, there was blood, little drops of blood coming out that top side and where I saw him blow out, but didn't find my arrow that night. So, I've learned over the years that, especially from whitetail hunting, you don't push them if you don't know what your shot is. So, the guys wouldn't let me see the video, wouldn't tell me what was really going on, kept me on edge for the night, but they're like, oh man, he's dead. Trust us, So I actually slept that night, which most people think you wouldn't, but when you have your buddies telling you that this bull, no question, he's done. I was able to get through it, but we did leave until the next day just in case. I've seen them get back up, and if you bump an elk, it's game over. They're going and they get the adrenaline rushing and they don't stop. I've even seen some like bleed what would seem like gallons and still not stop. And then we never find them because we bumped them. So lessons learned, it can be good and bad, depending on your view of it. But we backed out and emptied our packs for the next day and went in lightweight and ready to pack him out at daylight. And he, like I said, he maybe went 120 yards and was right there piled up.
What'd you think when you walked up on him?
So yeah, that's honestly one of my favorite portions of the videos that we have, because the guys were, my few local buddies here that they try to videotape everything, and they stayed in front of me, kind of pushed me back away and did all the tracking so they could video everything coming down. And I'm truly grateful for that, because the reaction of it all, and everybody has the same reaction when they see him or put hands on him. It's just a whole lot of holy moment, or it's, oh my gosh, holy crap, look at it, just giant. And my reaction is exactly the same, because I knew he was big, and I would have pinned him at right around 400, but to have ground growage of 30 inches is just unbelievable when you walk up to him. Just a giant, and he carries his mass everywhere. You can't even wrap your hand around his thirds. They're so thick. And, he doesn't, if he put all of his growing into length, he'd be the world record, I'm sure of it. But because our current scoring methods don't maximize or, promote mass, he doesn't score as good. You only get 8 mass measurements, and you get 13 total length on 6x6 with width. So yeah, he's got more mass than I've ever seen or ever heard of on any bull. It's unreal. And I wish you could put hands on him, because it really doesn't do it justice until you see him in person. You're like, something to scale it to, because he's just a 6x6, and, you expect a 6x6 to be a 6x6, but I can fit a I have a 355 bull in the garage I killed up in Idaho, and he fits completely inside this bull and looks like a baby. I mean, his fronts, look dinky, is just spindly horns. You're like, geez.
I mean,
he's just so much bigger than I can explain.
that's an interesting and wild, contrasting thing to do, because a 355 bull is a super big bull. I mean, that's like, to me, that's giant status, right? And to make this thing
all day long,
make it looks, kind of small is like, that puts things in perspective. Yeah, if I end up in your neck of the woods at some point, don't be surprised if I knock on our door and stop by to see this thing.
Absolutely, yeah. Hopefully, he makes it to the Western Hunting Expo this year, and I think we'll make it. Hopefully, on time.
Oh, nice. But yeah.
Depends on the tannery, and
there's
will you be out there?
There's good odds I'll be there, so maybe I will get to see this thing. So you walk up on him. He's an absolute giant. Now you got to get him out of there.
Yeah. So, the whole close to the road thing that never actually happens, just so happened. I think our total pack out was under a half a mile, as a crow flies, maybe a quarter mile, but we had to go around all the sea of Quakies, because you couldn't get through them. And, it's a feat in itself to get him out without damaging any of his velvet. So we were babying it the whole way out. And, it took us, we had enough people there. Luckily, I have enough really good friends that are willing to take time out of their day and away from their families to come help. And we got him out meat-wise pretty quick, in one trip with everybody. But his head with the cape on it was 128 pounds. So I only know that because I put it on a scale at the taxidermist here in town that let me use his freezer for a few days. And he just had it sitting there, and I was like, can I put that on there? Yeah, just shy of 130 pounds. So I couldn't get him on my pack, and nobody else could get him steady on the pack either. Like, we were trying to get creative and set him high enough. And then we had my buddy's brother that's with us. It's just a giant human being, like prior bodybuilder. Looks like Drax the Destroyer from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Just a mountain of a man, dude. I can't even, he's like 51 years old, and he's just makes me look tiny. And super good guy. And he's like, I can carry that. And he just threw it with his fronts over his shoulders and just went. I was like, oh, I didn't think of that. Cool, man. But
that's the guy you need on your pack out.
Oh yeah. Yeah. He could have done it all on his own, but with that kind of weight, that's a normal sized woman, carrying out a person out of the mountain. And when it's that steep, it's difficult to say the least. But so then we just started taking turns and got him out, 50 yards at a time. And you had to have two people to get him on and off your shoulders. Like, it was the heaviest load I've ever carried. And, out here in the West, I've never killed a moose, but this was by far the heaviest load we've got out.
I mean, 130 on your back. It's awkward weight, steep country, probably terrible footing. I mean, that is hard. Yeah,
it was difficult. And you couldn't use trekking poles either, so you had to hold him. So you get your hands around the outside of his main beams, and which I think I actually sent you a picture of one of us carrying him out, Jeremy carrying him out, and that's like the best picture of that bull because it puts it into perspective. Like, his hands look tiny on that bull,
right?
And super cool. Love the logo. It's like we made it into a logo for make hats and some different shirts and stuff to just have for friends, family, whatever. Maybe sell, who knows? But it's the coolest photo. I absolutely love it.
That is awesome. How many times did you fall on your way up with this thing? I guess at least you're falling uphill. Yeah. I know a couple guys fell, but I don't remember falling. But like as usual, you've probably been through it. The next day you wake up and you got bruises all over your shins. Yeah, that's what I was. That misstep and then boom.
Yep. Yeah. I was pretty tore up afterwards, but I didn't remember any of falling. I must have been a little high on the hog at that moment.
Yeah. You were probably floating up the hill still.
Yeah.
Man, that is so cool. So, well, I mean, you shoot this giant velvet bull, you get them out, and I shot a big velvet Sitka blacktail on Kodiak, but just velvet care. I mean, that's its own animal. I mean, it's honestly, it's a pain to try and take care of and preserve. And, there's a few different methods that you can use. Like, what did you guys end up doing in that regard?
So, yeah, I mean, the weather was hot. I think it was like 78 for the high that day.
Right.
So it was getting pretty toasty already. And we got him down. I had my wife grab the Velvelock on the way down. So she jetted down, skipped work, and kept my son out of school by the time we got back for his first day of school, mind you. But this is more important, obviously.
Oh, big time.
But she made it down and with 4 bottles of Velvelock. And, when she stopped at Shields to grab it, the people there were like, why do you need 4 bottles? She's like, my husband told me to buy 4 bottles of Velvelock. They're like, why does he need so much? And she showed him a picture and they're like, oh, okay, yeah, you better take 5.
I was going to say, here, take 5.
Yeah, it only does 100 inches of horn. And so, yeah, we were able to find some kind enough folks to let us put it in their walk-in cooler in southern Utah. So that same day, I think by 5 p.m., we left the truck at about 6 a.m. So by 5 p.m., we got him into a cooler with Velvelock and should have been able to save him, to be completely honest. I kind of ruined it there, but we didn't save him. So we lost the velvet, which disqualifies him from the velvet scoring and the velvet world record, because he would have absolutely been the velvet world record bull.
No kidding.
By 90 inches.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, just massive amount.
What do you think caused the velvet to want to strip, or what happened there, do you think?
Yeah, so I had to, my truck wouldn't pull my trailer, so it kept overheating, and I had to have my buddy pull my trailer back for me. And again, truly grateful for all my friends that are there to help me, and can't say that enough, because with everything that went down, I surely absolutely couldn't have done it without them. So we were able to put it in my toy hauler and crank the AC in that and make it back up here from southern Utah. So, 5-hour drive or so from down there, but in the AC, and got it to a walk-in freezer here in town where I live. And everyone looking at it's like, dude, I think your velvet's money. It's good. It's going to be fine. We can just embalm it so you can make the 60-day drying period to score him. You can't freeze dry him because you have to cut the skull plate in half to do that, and then you forfeit your score if you do that for any sort of record. So that wasn't an option. And then we later found out he even cut in half, he won't fit in the freeze dryer that we have locally. So he's just too big. So put us into a pickle no matter what. Like, we were in a bad spot. And my taxidermist, Jake Redman in Garland, Utah, he injected him for me, and everything was looking good. I think he said he used a gallon of formaldehyde on him, which is well over double what you normally should or should have to. And everything was looking good. And a week later, he called me and he's like, dude, I think we're going to lose this velvet. He's like, he stinks. And sure enough, it was like the next day, he's like, man, I don't know what to do. I got to either strip this or, we got to figure something out. Like, he stinks. And he did. He still, to this day, smells terrible. But I'm fairly certain he saved the velvet. The velvet was good. But what we found out after he stripped him was that bull was still growing. He had blood all the way to almost the ends of his thirds. So 4 inches below his thirds were still bright red with blood all the way to the inside of his horns. So he still had probably 2 weeks of growing left to do, which in itself is a freak of nature.
Right.
The reason I didn't take Velvelock with me was talking to everybody we've seen down there, and every bull I'd seen the weekend prior was hard horned. I'm like, oh, everything's going to be hard horned. Don't need Velvelock. That's silly. I'm not going to spend $200 to, not need it. So the fact that this bull was still growing, wasn't even close to going hard horned because he was still, full of blood through half of his horns, and it's just unbelievable. So he's still dripping blood today, and I killed him on the 16th. So, but actively dripping. I'm not talking like seeping out a little bit, like from his skull plate dripping out.
I mean, that's wild to think about that, other bulls are hard horned, they're done, they're stripped. And if anything, I'd be like, oh, he's close. He could be a day or two, within,
right. That's what we thought
coming out. And then to have what sounds like that amount of growing left to do, like it's like, what the heck, he's 430. What the heck was he going to turn into? Like, what did he have left to do?
I don't know. I'd like to talk to a biologist about it and see if, or if anybody listening to this later reaches out, just at least has an opinion on what they think he would still grow if he had that much blood all the way into his thirds and partially into his fourths, his swords. You would think he's still got some mass to grow, surely.
I mean,
I have no idea.
I have no idea either. Or was he just in that, hardening process and everything needed to? It's incredible to think that he could have had something left to go.
Right.
And it would be interesting to talk to somebody who specializes in that, or a biologist that would know. Regardless, absolutely giant. Bummer that you lost the velvet. So what are your next steps with them then?
And you have some different options. Mounted, I obviously want him velvet because that's how I killed him. I have these guys that do this for a living that are telling me you probably shouldn't do it you probably shouldn't put fake velvet on his real horns.
Right.
They're all recommending, like across the board, to do a replica set and then velvet and wear the replica set. So you can switch out from hard horn to velvet, whichever you want on the post, because he's vastly too big to fit through any doorway in my home. So you'd be able to have both. That's probably what I'll do is have the replicas done and be able to have the mold. So if anybody ever comes along and wants a set, we'll have the real set here with the replica set on the actual mount. That's what I'm thinking anyway.
Cool, man. No, I think that's a good plan, and I agree. I wouldn't put the the faux velvet on the real horns. I'd get that replica made. I mean, it's definitely worth that. And then, like I said, then heck, you have the option to accessorize how you like, but then you're not putting that stuff on the real set.
Something else too that's kind of wild with him, quick before we move on to anything else, is the neck size for elk is usually between, I want to say, 26 and 32 for the Cape ballpark. So you would expect a bull of this caliber to have just a giant neck to hold up that much weight. And his neck was 28 inches. So he had a baby neck, but his head is 4 inches longer than the biggest form that they make. So my taxidermist is going to have to take the form, order a big head on a small form, and then extend the head out to be able to make his cape fit. And then he had gray stripes on his hooves. Never seen that before. Like white. Just super cool. If you look close in some of the pictures that I sent you guys, you'll see he's got stripes on every one of his hooves. And just goes to show how old he likely is, and talking to people that know a little bit about him, just in general age of elk, they estimated him at like 13 years old, something like that. I don't know for sure, but, going off what they say.
When you did the biologists like pull a tooth or anything like that to age them? Or are you going to get them tooth aged?
Yeah. You have to, they require that here in Utah.
Okay.
That you got to do that on them. So yeah, he'll get aged at some point whenever you send it in. I think they give you a while to send it in because you got to dry them out and they don't want rotting teeth getting sent in. But yeah, I'll eventually find out how old he actually is. Gosh. It should be super cool to know.
Yeah,
he could have been alive when I first started putting in for this hunt, 13 years ago, which is kind of crazy to think about. When I first moved to Utah, he could have been alive at that point.
That is like bizarre to think about, that like potentially the year you put in, he was like dropped as a calf that year. And you've been, he's been growing and living out there, and you've been putting in for the tag. Man, that is so crazy.
Meant to happen. And the fact that none of the big time outfitters were on him is nothing short of a miracle. Like, those guys don't miss much. I mean, they get a bad rap for a lot of things, but a lot of them are really good at what they do and find everything. So the fact that they either didn't know about him or weren't there yet is unheard of. Usually they're in there. I mean, we were after a 420s bull a few years ago with a buddy that had a tag, and mossback killed him. And with, I think, a sportsman's tag where, they can shoot a rifle during bow season, which, it's a whole different story for another day. But so I mean, those guys were on him from the beginning, right when we saw him too, and they are just more dedicated or more capable of getting in there on that particular year. So it didn't happen this year though.
Nope. I mean, and I mean, like you said, I mean, they're good at their craft. I mean, that is their business. They're putting in the time, and I mean, that's their job, right? So where a lot of us have to do those things between our regular job, I mean, that is their job, and they are good at it. But no, that's cool, man. And that seems like this guy just had, a sneaky program that obviously worked for a really long time, and he was comfortable down in there. And when he goes to show, and I've had this work out for me at times before, man, just a little bit of shift in perspective can reveal things that are, that you never would have seen, or like you said, you go up here and you're looking right over the top of something that's actually right underneath your nose, right? So I mean that's definitely a hot tip, and just these tiny little shifts in perspective, even off of a high traffic area, even potentially can reveal something that's just been doing its thing and never been bugged for a real long time.
Yep, and spending that time behind the glass is really the primary thing. And I say look big because I mean that of look everywhere and look far. And I was just talking to a new bow hunter at work. He's one of our engineers, and he's just starting out in his 50s hunting here in the West, and he's been struggling quite a bit to try to find animals because most people go in the West and don't find animals. I mean, there's a reason the success rates for archery season so low, but he's getting socked in and looking almost too small, where he's got to glass this big country, find the animal first, and then make a move. And if guys can do that and pick every little tree apart, they're going to find elk. You just have to stick with it and have quality glass. You see the guys with Walmart binoculars, and you're like, "Ew, that's going to be rough."
Yeah, I know.
I say that jokingly, but there's some truth to it.
I mean, no question. I mean, can you get it done? Absolutely. But I mean, optics, and I'm not saying that just because of where I work. I mean, they are an absolute difference maker. And they are like having, a superpower, right? I mean, you're like magnifying one of your main senses, like vastly, like with those 18s, like 18 times, like my goodness, like that's a pretty incredible thing to be able to do.
The clarity is unbelievable. Especially the UHDs were just a game changer for me. Like I love them, but I mean, there's numerous companies out there that make good glass, but just a shout out to your guys. Like everybody I know, prior military, veteran, law enforcement, you name it, like goes to Vortex, and because of how you guys treat all of us. So just want to say we appreciate that to everybody there. And Josh has become a pretty good friend, and has come out on some hunts out here, and I went up to Idaho and helped, and we've had good times, and just truly appreciate all of it. So, and I won't ever stray away from Vortex. I mean, why would I when you have those programs for us?
Well, I mean, yeah, number one, we appreciate the kind words and you as a customer, but we appreciate everything that you guys are doing as well. Like, I mean, it's immensely, important and we can't thank you enough. And
Appreciate it.
we're not, why we do those things is really just, it's the little way that we can show at least, our appreciation at some level. But, man, I'm super stoked for you. I mean, what an absolutely incredible story, not without its, trials and tribulations and perseverance and probably a few even, question marks on the front end. And then for it to turn out the way it did with that kind of timing and just for it to be that bull that, I don't know, man, that's a lot of things. That's a lot of things coming together.
Yeah. Pretty amazing. And, nothing short of blessed to be able to take part in it all and have the family and friends there to do it. Because, not everybody gets that opportunity, and let alone to find a bull like that. So,
yeah,
it's grateful for it for sure.
Well, and like you said on the front end, having the support of your spouse is, that truly is a huge thing. And I mean, that can change the if you don't have that, it's going to change the entire dynamic of your hunt and, be weighing in the back of your head. And so that's just a big deal. So definitely, like you said, shout out to her for being supportive, on this deal. And it's just, like I said, it's just a cool story, an incredibly cool, giant, special, unique animal. And, man, just, I don't know, man, like it gives me hope. I'm like, it can happen.
It can, it's possible. Self-guided. Yeah. The hardest part's finding them. If you can take inventory of what you have, you're doing something. But we had 4 bulls over 390 located, that were, I wouldn't have passed any of them.
No way.
It all came together at the end. Like I was in full panic mode right up until I found that bull. And then it was like, oh, there's another one. You're like, oh, this one's got a, 12-inch flyer off his main beam. Like, whoa. So, it's just came together right at the end on kind of a short, amount of time. And I guess, I don't know if that's luck or, if we just spend enough time looking and are able to find what you're looking for. I don't know, but I'm glad it all worked out.
Yeah. Either way it worked out. It seems like one of those things that was, truly meant to be. And I'm glad it happened. And like I said, super excited for you. I appreciate you sharing it with us. I think it's pretty wild. Like, in today's day and age, like you don't really have social media. So like to be able to talk with you and get the story, we didn't talk very much beforehand. And I wanted to keep it that way because I'm like, I want to hear everything fresh. Like, I don't want to have any idea about the story other than, like I said, Josh is like, my buddy shot this giant. Look at these pictures. I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, we got to talk to this guy. So, no, Kelly,
the hunt part's actually really short, but those are the best hunts. Preparation, right?
Exactly. A lot. Basically you have 6 years of front end work on this deal when you think about it. Right. And then all the work that you put in for your specific tag after you drew it. And that's what it takes to have something come together like that. Yeah, just, awesome bull, awesome story. Thanks again for sharing the story with us. All the listeners out there, hopefully you guys enjoyed this one as much as I did. Hopefully it gave you hope that, man, there are giants out there and you can do it DIY on your own. Man, happy hunting and shooting. Fall is here. It's not even we're in the mix. It's starting. So, man, hopefully this story inspires you and gets you fired up and you can go head out for your tag here in the near future. Kelly, thanks again. Thanks everybody else. We'll catch you on the next one.